Hi, everybody. We're going to get started in about 1 minute. We're grateful you're here today for this webinar. I think it'll be awesome. So thanks for being here. We'll be here in about we'll get started rather in about 60 seconds. Welcome everybody to today's webinar. We're excited you're here and we're excited to be here. My name is McKay Allen. I'm in the marketing department at Connect, and we're so excited to have Beyond Creative and Joey Rabaran with us today. And we're excited for the presentation as well. First, a few housekeeping items. Number one, we want you to ask questions. So please locate that little question bar on the right-hand side of your screen. In fact, if you want to type in the city and state where you're calling in from today, just so you guys know where it is, and we kind of know who's on the call today. So type that in if you would. It's in the little question area on the right-hand side of your screen. And then the second thing we want to mention to you is this is going to be recorded, and we'll have someone reach out to you with that recording after the webinar as well. So again, thanks for taking the time to be here today. We want to jump right in. The topic of today's discussion, as you can see, is 6 ways to promote your dealership as COVID-19 seems to drag on. First, we want to just kind of set the scene about, and we got people typing in now. So we got Wheeling, West Virginia here. We got La Crosse, Wisconsin here. We got a lot of folks jumping on, so that's great. First, I just want to kind of tell you what Connect is and what we do, so you have some sort of context as to who's speaking to you today a little bit. So Connect, we do 4 things for your industry. Number one, two-way text messaging from your main dealership phone number. Number 2, we do inbound web texting from your website. So this allows you to gather leads from your website immediately with that little text us widget we put in the corner of the website. So you can talk to customers the way they want to speak to you and the way they're texting their friends and family all day, every day. You can also collect payments remotely. So these could be deposits on machines. These could be service payments. You get paid much more quickly and readily if you put if you ask for that payment via text message. And then finally, we do online review generation. So instead of hoping people leave you good reviews, be proactive and go get good reviews. You're going to get a much higher percentage, about 35 times higher to get reviews if you do it via texting than if you do it via another source, or via another method, I should say. Your customers want to text message you. We all know that. 98% of text messages are open, 95% are read within 3 minutes. I don't know about you guys, but I have probably like 50 emails that are unread in my inbox, but I have 0 text messages that are unread because that red little bubble mocks me and I have to click on it. So I'm not sure if you guys are the same, but I assume you are. Also, we mentioned that text us widget. This is how that thing looks. You throw it in the bottom right-hand corner of your website. You can customize the color, the copy, the text, the menu structure of it. And then suddenly, instead of just chatting with them, you're actually texting them on their phone. And that is the power. When we do that, this is what happens to their leads. And this is not an anomaly. This is not like we chose like some crazy example. This is very common. So customers will throw that on their website, that text us widget, and suddenly they're getting leads through the roof from their website. These are people who were previously probably just wandering around their website and debating if they wanted to get involved in a phone conversation with a salesman. Now they're actually texting in because that's how people like to communicate. So if you want more leads, this is a way to get those leads. How do dealers use Connect to communicate effectively with them? You can also schedule appointments via text and set up automated reminders. That helps a ton during the service process as well when you're trying to get customers in and out. You can also collect payments. send warranty reminders, schedule those things, send pictures of machines. However you want to structure this, you can, in addition to generating the reviews. But the goal of the Connect platform is to allow you to really communicate with your audience and with your customers really effectively in the way they want to communicate, which is texting. That's how everyone communicates nowadays. So now let's introduce our speaker, Joey Rabaran from Beyond Creative. Joe, thanks for being here, man. I really appreciate it. We were just saying before the call, it's funny, we have kind of done this whole coordination for this big webinar via email and via text and messaging. So it's kind of funny that we're now on the call today. I'm glad the day is here and we're doing this webinar. Thanks for being here, man.
Yeah, man, absolutely. My pleasure. And it's funny because I was actually thinking about the same thing too, not long before we jumped on. I was like, oh man, we still haven't spoken on the phone. But that's kind of the world that, we live in nowadays. I'm not going to spend too much time here. I'm just going to kind of breeze through, but I know you do. We both certainly value everyone's time, from the dealers and the people that are joining us today. So I want to make sure that they know what they're in for, and who's talking to them and who's talking about it, and so they get to know us, and that we can come in with conviction about the things that we're going to be mentioning today. So just a quick story about me. I've been in the internet marketing business for at least 15 years, and a good chunk of that has been in the power sports, boating, and recreational fishing sector. I just have a total passion for it. I try to stay fresh and up to date with like industry collaborations, such as the one we're doing right now today with Connect with you guys, which I'm very thankful for. I also, have worked with Mark Sheffield from Spader, Lot Vantage, and Dealership Fix It, among others. And then of course, I have a column called Digital Corner on power sports business and boating industry magazines. So yeah, here we are today. So what are you guys going to discover today, right? Real important. We're going to talk about why it's critical that even though business is hot right now, not to just let the grass grow under your feet, right? We're going to talk about how to market your dealership specifically to buyers with regards to what your message should be and the different channels that you can use to do so. The one big thing that you can do to capture more leads from your website, that's going to be a really, really important one. And we're going to walk you through. We have some time constraints, so we're going to try to kind of go through it quickly. Thankfully, you're going to have a recording after this, so don't be too stressed if you're trying to keep up and take notes. But I'm going to try my best to walk you through a 4-step system to automate your lead growth. And then, of course, I'm going to give you another bonus too, which is going to be, checking out what the biggest factor that separates top dealers from the rest is. So let me just quickly, tell you guys a little bit about Beyond Creative and what we do. This is what we do. Digital marketing is what we, breathe, sleep, and eat. We focus on search engine optimization, pay-per-click, which really goes to Google ads and search engine marketing in general, and also ads on social media. We work with clients to manage what I like to call the low-hanging fruit, which is getting revenue through email campaigns, people that are already on your list, and then we help them out too with structuring their text message marketing and what their marketing message should be like. So this next slide, right, just talks volumes as to what we like to see and the results that we create for our dealerships, right? You look at a graph over a certain period of time and you start seeing that spike. And we're going to talk about multiple aspects about this, not just like, okay, here are the results, here's what you guys can actually realize by implementing, even just some of the tips that we're going to share with you guys today. But we're going to talk about another big aspect of it, which is tracking and measurement and understanding your goals and, where you currently are and where you want to go. Some of the dealerships that we help, are shown in the slide. So just as an example, some of you guys may be already familiar with, some of these guys, such as Sunrise, Shawnee, Peterson's, Harley Davidson, or Caliente in San Antonio, Johnny K's, etc.
And I think this is a big slide, Joe, because making sure people know you're open and available is like half the battle right now, right?
Oh yeah, and there's obviously a lot of ongoing changes too, like the way that, for instance, Google is handling like their Google My Business. There was in April, they had a temporary shutdown of, like new reviews coming in for a little bit there. And, they were kind of just prioritizing for things that were like healthcare industry related. And thankfully, all of that has been lifted. So we're kind of, back to normal, but it's still critical and really important to continuously, because the situation is so dynamic and continually keeps changing, people don't know what to expect. So I think one of the biggest takeaways here, that the dealer should take from this slide is, don't take it for granted that customers and leads or prospects are going to know where you're at, right? Like continuously just keep on sharing, like, hey, our service department continues to be open, our sales floor is continues to be open, or our sales room floor is open by appointment only. Whatever your case may be, just make sure to let them know. Just keep hitting them with refreshers and information. It's going to be a very critical part to helping people understand and know that you guys are open and operating, as normal, or not like normal, but that they know what to expect. So how do you guys get that message across, right? And that's really important. You want to try to use as many tools available to you. The top three are and these bullet points are going to be your major ones, not to be ignored. There may be some of you joining us here today that have not put any kind of signage or anything like that on your site. Make sure even a small banner at the top of your site, to kind of let them know, hey, we're operating back to normal business hours, or hey, we have new hours going on. Click here, and if it's too much to put in just one banner, maybe just have them click there and then go to the actual about us or map page where you actually have your hours. Make sure to leverage your email list and also your list of phone numbers so that you can communicate via email and text message. And don't forget Facebook Messenger, so you can update your current customers about changes and what's going on. Use your social media accounts.
One thing, Joe, I was going to say too here is, we've had a lot of customers using our text messaging platform to just proactively reach out to their past customers and say, hey, just so you know, we're still open. Here's the way we're structuring our hours or whatever. Just it gives you an opportunity to proactively communicate.
Absolutely. It is critical. I think that, of course, there's a point where you could do it too much, but don't feel like if you're just doing it once, when with regards to at least social media, right? Like that if you're just posting a once a week kind of update and just say, hey, our hours continue to be the same as we last announced, here they are for you. Don't feel like you're overdoing it. I think it's important right now is, remember, people right now there's a lot of uncertainty. And so one of the things that is going to help you guys stand out as dealers above your competition and above the rest is being that steady force, right? Like if your customers, current customers, or even a prospect sees you as, oh wow, these guys have it together and they continue to do this and they continue to inform me, that is huge as far as like building up that trust that is definitely needed when somebody is going to spend money with you. Okay. One big aspect, of course, keep your online directories up to date. And one thing that a lot of people overlook is Google My Business. Google My Business has a capacity to updates just kind of like you would if, maybe on your Facebook page. But the enormous difference to it is that it's got a very valuable piece of real estate as far as where it shows up. So those of you that are here today, if you Google your dealer, like literally just putting your dealer name, and I'm assuming 99% of you are going to have a Google My Business account already. When you scroll down a little bit past like the hours and all that, in that area, if you're not already doing it, that's the part where Google puts posts for Google My Business. It is a very valuable piece of real estate because as people scroll through the first page of Google, your information is there with a graphic, not just text. So do not overlook that Google My Business is an enormous tool that you should be using in general, but particularly to communicate to customers during, these kind of weird, crazy times.
It's a good point, Joe. I think talking about texting, going back and forth with those customers, and this being an opportunity to be proactive, A lot of times the questions we get around texting are, well, what does it look like on my end? I get that I'm supposed to text my customers. The way those texts come into you is via essentially what looks like an email inbox. So you're able to assign those out to individuals on your team, or maybe assign an office manager or a junior salesperson to handle all of these inbound leads, or to send outbound messages to your past customers. And this is on a one-to-one basis, not a blast message like you'd get from the Gap about a discount, right? These are one-to-one text communications and conversations with your customers. You can also do that in a mobile app environment. So you can actually download the Connect mobile app and text via that for being in touch with your customers. Because like you were saying, Joe, I think it's critical that you communicate with your customers through this. Be that pillar, I think was the word you used, so they know that, look, this is normal, we're operating, and we can still sell you stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And I gotta say that even, pandemic aside, I'm such a huge fan of communicating with customers in that seamless manner of text messages. One of the things that unfortunately, I think, I'm a firm believer that, at least as it stands, our industry, when I say our industry, we may have people here that may be Marine, RV, and or power sports dealers, but I'm going to assume vast majority of those of you joining us here are probably power sports dealers. And unfortunately, in the power sports industry, one thing that a lot of dealers don't do well is meeting people where they're at. Meaning that you meet them on their terms. Well, we've done this like this for so and so years, and unfortunately, the buyer nowadays, they've got the power at the palm of their hands with a cell phone. So they don't want to be sold anymore. They want you to really meet them where they're at. And the slide that you just showed, McKay, was excellent for that, because text and replying promptly and in a seamless manner to a prospect or a customer is the core, at the heart of what we need to do as far as marketers, for us to really get ahead of the game. So those dealers that adapt and to do that, I think, are the ones that are going to do very, very well. So one of the things with regards to your marketing during a pandemic is, so what does your messaging sound like now, right? Well, one of the things you guys can do is obviously make sure to state the kind of things. Don't mention anything if you're not doing it by any means, of course. So be completely transparent and honest about this. But if your dealer's taking any extra measures, like maybe having somebody at the front door, with sanitizer, maybe offering face mask, like disposable face masks for customers that didn't bring one. If those are things that your dealer is doing, share it. Make people feel at ease and let them know you're doing that. Tell them about your store hygiene policies, like whatever you feel comfortable sharing with the public about what how you have changed and adopted your policies. Share it. I think it's an important one. Continue to obviously do your regular posts that you do. Just make sure. Unfortunately, I see a lot of dealers that are still posting people next to each other, like a sales guy next to somebody else, and they're almost like shaking hands. Really try to avoid doing that, because people are very sensitive to that. So make sure that if you are posting somebody, on their bike, like a new customer, maybe have them like wear the mask and not be shaking hands with with a sales guy. So definitely, again, educate them. And this is something, again, that I think in the power sports industry is kind of lacking, right? Bringing value. So think about your messaging. Don't be salesy, don't be pitchy, be low pressure, and be very empathetic toward the situation that everybody is going through. Be very informative, become that go-to resource for your customers and prospects. So let's talk about the do's and don'ts, right? In just very simple terms. You guys may be like, wow, it's easy for you to say, right? You're a marketer. Don't cut back on your marketing. Well, there are really good reasons, measurable ones, why we say do not cut back on your marketing. It's very similar to the way that stockbrokers will tell you do not sell when the stock market is down. Big part of the reason is we know that the market's always going to readjust itself, and at the end of the day, down the road, it's going to gain value. So when you panic and you cut out, you're actually missing out on the biggest opportunity that you can. One of the things that happen when dealerships or small business owners in general start panicking and cutting their marketing budget is that there's less competition as far as the number of advertisers that are online. Another thing that subsequently has happened during this pandemic too, and some of you may have heard me already mention this, in some webinars prior, is that there are more eyeballs on the screen. So most companies such as Google and Facebook, they base their rates, because it's kind of the way it works, like, in an auction or similar to the way the stock market works. When there's more of a demand for content, be it, paid or organic, and there's less of a supply, for us, the suppliers of the content, those costs go down. So this, for you, the savvy marketer, is actually a really, really good thing, because ad rates are going to decline, your content's going to go much further. And if all else fails and you don't know what kind of marketing or advertising to do at this time, the best thing you could do is run branding campaigns, because one way or another, at the lower rates, and more lean prices that you're going to get on your advertising, you're going to instill your brand in just thousands more people than you otherwise would have. So right now is definitely not the best time to cut your marketing budget. Now, there are things that obviously right now you can pull from too. We're not doing trade shows. Traveling is very much likely probably cut down a lot. No conferences at all. Some places, have had reduced, probably shouldn't say office space rent, but some places may have some sort of reduced rent in general for their showrooms. There's less traveling in cars right now, so there's fewer listeners. So radio is probably a place where you could spend a lot less money. I'm not a big fan of radio to begin with. It's cast too much of a wide net, but that's a whole nother conversation for another time. Think about how to right now, a lot of your customers have some more free time. So think about potentially how you can reach out to them during these times, right? And ask them for reviews. It may be easier at this time, for you to implement either a loyalty program or maybe double down on your review program, and you'll be surprised. You're going to get more reviews. Ask for video testimonials. That's something actually that on my next article of Power Sports Business, can't divulge too much because they'll kill me. But I talk about different types of video marketing, and video testimonials is one of those. Our industry is not doing it at all. Stand out above the rest by just asking. And listen, it's very simple. There's a great application out there, very cheap. It's called boast.io. They have a simple form collection. It makes it very, very easy for you to send, a request for a video testimonial. And it's super helpful. You can put them on your website. You can put them on your social media. It's social proof. There's nothing better than that. Give incentives.
So I'll add one thing to the video piece too, is on your side of things, we have customers in RV, marine, power sports doing this right now, where they will just kind of do like a video walk around of a machine that's in their showroom and text it to 3 or 4 people they think would be interested based on discussions over the last couple months. So maybe someone came in 6 weeks ago, looked around, didn't end up buying. Well, guess what? You've got a new razor in. You can walk around and show them that and send it off to them and say, hey, we just got this in, man. Like, that's easy to do on your phone. Takes 2 minutes. You text that to them, they will watch it, and you might get a sale out of it. Like we had an RV dealer last week tell us, like, yeah, I'm just literally, this is my selling program now. I'm just giving tours and texting them to people via video tours and texting them.
Yeah, super, super huge. I'm really glad you brought that up. And again, I don't want to keep ruining it and spoiling the next article and that I have coming out in Power Sports Business, but it also talks about what you just said. I talk about walk around videos. It's actually the last bullet point, I think, on this slide. It's create virtual walkarounds. You can even do virtual events and offers. But the walkarounds, in my view, this is something that we should have been doing 10 years ago. And unfortunately, we're not. But even now, during a pandemic, even more so, like, because you can now get a sale from somebody who may be hesitant, like wants to buy that boat you were just talking about, or that razor that you were just talking about, McKay, but now you removed a lot of that uncomfortableness by sending them that video. And you're absolutely right. It speaks so highly, because it's not only, wow, you went out of your way to make me comfortable, but like you care that much that I'm not even a customer, and you did a little walk around for me that's custom. And guys, by the way, don't worry so much about the production value of it. It is not like lights, camera, action. This does not have to be perfect. It just make it very real, like very conversational. Like, hey, you know, here's da 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 da, this and that. I thought you'd be interested. Let me show you around. You know, so
Well, I think the production quality is key because I think people think it's got to be more complicated, but we're all used to
right,
watching stupid videos on our phones and YouTube,
yeah,
probably more than we would want to admit. So it's some low production quality thing is not going to matter to anybody.
absolutely, absolutely. For that's definitely for sure. All right, cool. So that's those are the slides with regards to the message that we wanted to share with you guys today, as far as like what your marketing message should be during a pandemic. But we're going to talk a little bit, and there's a lot of meat and potatoes, a lot of content in the next few slides that we're going to give you. So I'm going to try my best to breeze through it because, as you could tell, it's hard to get the words out of me. So I'm going to try my best to breeze through it so I can be respectful of everyone's time. But one of the biggest things, plaguing dealers is, in general, having a proven system, a sort of like, customer acquisition machine, and what that looks like, what that entails. And so we wanted to give you a little bit of an overview today as to the things that go into that, into creating one, and making sure that you're really, standing out above the rest and staying current with the times. So what does that look like, right? It's pretty much 4 steps, and the steps you heard me talk about: meeting your leads or your customers where they're at, because it's all about them. Remember, we're in business for them. We're in business, to sell to them what they want and what they want out of what we have to sell. We don't think about selling them a motorcycle. Think about selling them, an escape into, out of their ordinary lives. Don't think about selling them a boat. Think about selling them, an adventure. So we're in this for them. So what I'm going to show you pretty much breaks it down to like where they are. Yeah, the four steps. And so, the first one of what your customer's average journey looks like is the attract phase, right? So like how they find you, how they learn about you. So there was a slide here that didn't make it out, but it's, essentially they're asking a bank robber, like, why do you rob banks? He said, because that's where the money is, right? Very simple, no brainer. So one of the things that I think a lot of dealers unfortunately take for granted is where the people are hanging out, where the masses are hanging out. And that's, these key networks that you see on here: Google, Facebook, and Instagram. Those are very critical places where about 97% of your consumers are going to be found. So the key then, I'm going to show you guys a little bit of a case study here. One of our clients, awesome people. They've got 3 locations up in Ohio. And yeah, I'm not going to say that it was as exaggerated as them having been on the yellow pages, because that wouldn't be honest. But the key was, okay, so how do we get them to how do we lead them toward the banks, right? So what needed to happen? What did that look like? Okay, 2 main things. It's now fixing a big aspect of once we drive people to your website, right? How do you do that? And that's going to be with what I mentioned, the networks that I mentioned just prior. But then another key aspect that people tend to forget is that vast majority of those efforts are going to lead to one bottleneck, which is your website. So it begs the question of asking, okay, is my website converting right? So that's an important, very critical component of this process, the proven system, to make sure that you guys are leveraging all of your efforts online, so that you can really, truly, and in a few slides, I'm going to show you some mathematical, examples as to why conversion is so important. So when we talk about, for instance, search engine, right? It's not just like, okay, well, let's just try to rank organically at the top, or let's just maybe get an ad here or there, or rank in, on Google Maps. It's like total first page domination. So you want to be on the map pack, which is what you see there under the map, right? Those 3 spots. You want to rank there number 1, so that when you put in, your dealership and your city or anything relevant, or somebody that's actually searching for a relevant keyword within the city, so that you show up in the map pack. But then that you also show up on paid results, In this particular case, they weren't we weren't running a keyword for them for motorcycle dealer at this particular scenario, but you want to have it where you're showing up at the entire, first page, map pack, paid results, and organic results as well. So what does step 2 look like, right? Because that's a very critical part. Now you've started to generate leads either on social media. I'm not going to say either. Let's just say on social media and search engines, right? Organically and paid. Well, then the next step is very crucial, which is how do you handle your lead tracking? Having a system for your leads, guys, is critical. Have something that's clear. Have either, if some of you are into Google Sheets and it auto updates, and you have automation going onto the Google Sheets, use that. If you can use, a dashboard for your leads, this is really important. It's going to put your entire team on the same page. Keep track of like when a lead is coming in at the time that they're coming in, and also have a column of, who's followed up and all of that. I mean, there are tons of softwares out there that you can utilize as far as like, using a CRM. But I know that some people, they shy away from it. So what's really, really important is whatever lead you're generating, you need to have a clear tracking system that works for you, that you actually use, and it holds people in the dealership accountable, for when the leads came in and when they've been followed up on. It's also really critical to be able to look at things in a manner that makes it easier for you to understand, okay, which of those sources that I'm either advertising or that I'm spending resources on, such as, for instance, investing in search engine optimization, which of those sources are driving the most traffic for me, right? And so you need to be able to visualize that in a way that's simple for you. You need to be able to have call tracking in place, telling you which calls are being generated by what source, which leads converted on your website, depending on the source. And also, and very important, your cost per leads, and what it's costing you on average to acquire those new leads and eventually new customers. So the next step is going to be your scheduling process, right? And how you're going to handle, once you have acquired that lead, how you're going to handle the process as far as the communication of the lead. And that's where I would say one of the most enormous pitfalls comes in for a lot of dealerships, right? We've seen that like clockwork, about 10% of the dealers take 90% of their revenue. And this is one of the little goodies that we were going to share as far as the bonus for you guys today. Some of you probably know this already. I mean, some of you are probably top 10 performing dealers joining us today. And the biggest factor that separates the top performing dealerships from other ones is essentially lead handling. Okay, it really just boils down to that. So what's the problem with regards to lead handling, right? Well, there's a few. The main one that you see here on the screen is that 50 to 60% of inbound traffic leaves. Okay, and I'm going to share with you just in a few couple slides one of the things that you could do to very easily, kind of alleviate that. And then I'm going to show you some other ones that aren't as easy to implement, but they're worth it to implement. Now, 90% of web forms fail to convert. And so just imagine the missed opportunities with revenue. I mean, it's literally, little piles of cash just being left on the table. Now, our next slide is going to show you guys, I mean, look at these charts. I mean, this is like, whoa, it's crazy. Lead response time. Within 1 minute, your percentage for conversion rate is 391%, as opposed to 24 hours, which is 17%. Well, guess what? Vast majority of dealers I know, unfortunately, are between that last one and the next one that doesn't even show on the graph, which is 48 hours, So
Joe, I would say too, if there's one slide for the audience to like pull out their phone and take a picture of or screenshot this or whatever, like this is the slide. If you solve nothing else, solve this and you will be ahead of 80% of dealers.
Absolutely, I absolutely agree. This is critical, and this is where utilizing, I mean, it's 2020, guys, so there's so much technology out there that I know it's so overwhelming, but that's where utilizing technology such as Connect, to make it simple and to make it seamless for our customers and our prospects is where it's at. We got to utilize it so that we can hit, because the numbers don't lie. This is it. So let me show you guys a little bit of what automation would kind of look like, and I'm going to kind of briefly go through this because I don't want to overwhelm you guys, and if you do have any questions later on, you can hit McKay up, or you can hit me up via email, or schedule something so I can give you some more details as far as what automation would look like. But essentially, you want to try to automate as much as you can, right? Remove most of that burden from your sales staff, okay? That means utilizing, again, like I just mentioned, tools that will allow you to do that. Your goal is going to be to try to follow up within less than 2 minutes of lead submission, be it on your website, be it an OEM site, be it on Facebook, or or chat on your site. And then what you want to do is that you want to create sequences of emails. There's a lot of different softwares out there, but I would suggest just go with what works for you guys, and automate sequences of text, ringless voicemails, and emails that will kind of, just very simple, in a very simple manner, just try to seek an engagement from the leads. Because everybody here knows, everyone in this webinar knows, that there are people that submit a lead and then just ghost you. And you're like, why did you give me your information and then not respond? Well, there are many reasons why. And the average salesperson would tell you it's because they're a bad lead. No, that's actually the minority of the cases, guys. And I hate to be the bummer here, but the vast majority of times is because, they were in the heat of the moment and they submitted the lead, but then they got distracted, life got in the way, whatever the case may be. So to say, I called the lead twice and left the voicemail, it just isn't enough. So leveraging technology to do as many touches as you possibly can. Vast majority of people don't know that the average sales process starts after 5 touches. I mean, that's huge. So if you can leverage technology to get you there most of the way, and then then you have a human intervene, that's what's up, and that's what's really going to help you guys leverage technology.
I would add too, just simple automation is a good place to start. So our system allows you to schedule replies, for example, to text messages. So like Joe was saying, to respond immediately. You may not have somebody in their Connect inbox in your showroom 24/7, but you can actually automate a responder. So when someone texts, it goes back to them immediately, and you get an alert that says, hey, someone just came in, and you can actually talk to them within a minute or two. Additionally, you can schedule reminders for things like warranty updates. You can schedule reminders for service requests and service reminders. So there's a ton of scheduling and automation that you can do with simple text messaging that allows you to do what Joe's describing, which is really making the most of automation and keeping it really simple. Don't overwhelm yourself, like he was saying. Start small and then build, but having that quick response and some automation is vital in today's day and age.
Yeah, I agree. I think you make an excellent point, which is just maybe get started with something for you to kind of get your feet wet and be a little bit more comfortable with automation in general. And McKay just showed the slide on how you could do so with Connect, but maybe your go-to aspect or question in your mind should be, how do I automate this? So every time that you're doing something, think, how do I automate this? How do I automate this? So it may lead to, for instance, the slide that he just showed on how to automate the texts using Connect, but even something as simple, guys, as like Instagram. A lot of dealers don't know that Instagram will allow you to do snippets that you can have ready, so you can do a quick reply, so you don't have to do copy and paste, or even have auto respond. So yeah, start out simple. And then kind of work your way, and then don't get lost in the clutter. I believe our next slide is one of those that just kind of shows and illustrates how overwhelming automation can be. So so you got the next slide.
This slide made me uncomfortable when I first saw it, Joe. I was like, oh man.
Yeah. It looks like a really cheap classified ad for, you know, just a ton of different software companies. So yeah, I mean, the reason why we have this in here, guys, is to kind of illustrate like so many of the different options that are out there. Don't bang your head against the wall trying to figure it out. Start somewhere small, like we just mentioned, and then work your way. I'm going to go through the next slide, and the next two slides. I'm going to go through what a little bit of the process looks like, right? So this is a little bit of like what a customer's journey would visually look like online, or ideally. So this is probably another slide, not the most important one, but you know, I would say also another important one that if you want to take a screenshot, if you want to take your phone out, take a picture of, this is a critical one, which is, okay, so what does a average journey look like online? Well, vast majority of the times, you're going to be generating some traffic, right? Interest. You're going to be generating interest with those columns or boxes that you see on the left-hand side. So either, you know, Google search, social media, Facebook ads, whatever the case may be, email campaigns, and they all, for the most part, will lead to one place, which is going to be ideally, hopefully, relevant landing pages. Big don't, by the way, guys, just as a side note, just a little nugget, extra bonus for you. Whenever you're driving traffic via anything that you do, try to always have it go to a relevant landing page. Try to avoid going to your home page. Believe me, because the bounce rate that actually is going to you know, go toward helping your bounce rate go up, which is something you don't want. So anyway, I digress. You could visualize here that, you know, you try to get people. If you don't get them at first with your landing page, then you want to remarket to them and eventually, you know, lead them back to a place where they can input their information and they become a lead, right? What do you do after that? Well, then there comes this slide, which is, let's put it into try to automate sequences. So build out, you know, just spend some time building out what sequences will look like what you would write to customers. And don't overthink it. Do not send them a sea of text. Nobody, email or on a text message, they don't want to hear that. You know, ain't nobody got time for that. So make it simple, like just trying to elicit a response from them. Hey, I saw that, you know, I noticed that you were interested in so-and-so and checking out our inventory on Facebook, on, you know, on the ads that we have on our Facebook carousel ads or whatever. The term could even be simpler. I saw you're interested in our, you know, inventory on Facebook. Which unit caught your eye the most? Something as simple as that, you'd be surprised the kind of responses that you get, you know? Oh, well, I really like this one, but I'm not sure about my credit. And that's what you want to go for when you're trying to create these sequences. So this is a huge slide, right? Which is what no follow-up and also poor conversions on your website lead to. So you have no follow-ups. If you were to take, and it's just a math game, guys, you know, you have 100 leads, and of 100 leads, if you have a schedule rate of 30%, you know, and you had 30 appointments booked, and then out of that, your average sale is $7,000, let's just say. That's, you know, $210,000. But if you were able to get that rate up, that's why conversion and also appointment setting is so important. It's the stuff that happens in between. If you're able to get that schedule rate to 70% by leveraging everything you can, look at the multiplication of revenue. It's enormous. Now you're at almost, you know, $500,000. And so you more than doubled the revenue by doing just a little bit slightly more than double the conversion. So you're looking at a 233% increase, you know, in booked appointments.
Yeah, that's huge.
So what's one of, yeah, absolutely. So you know, that's one of the biggest things that so let's talk about, we just talked about, like, okay, let's you know, try to convert as much as possible on our let's try to get as many appointments as we can by setting up you know, follow-up sequence. And then also, let's try to convert as much as we can on our website, right? So we promised that we would share with you what's like the one biggest thing that you could probably do today, which is probably very simple for the vast majority of you guys to accomplish, and that you can actually make an enormous dent as far as the amount of leads you get, right? Where I'm actually not going to just give you one, I'm going to give you three. Now, the caveat here is don't do 3 of them, okay? My recommendation is not to do 3 of them, and here's why. I would suggest, and you saw how McKay toward the beginning of the presentation showed the numbers, which were astonishing, of if you put a chat on your website, what happens. That's actually one of my biggest recommendations. Put a chat. And my biggest recommendation would be do one of the two pop-ups, okay? Don't do both, just do one or the other. And then also do a chat. That would be, in reality, it's more than just the one thing you could do. But if you were to do one thing, any of these three would help you out enormously, okay? Now, pop-ups don't have a really good reputation, but that's because in the past they've been abused, okay? Pop-ups are not bad. Time them maybe about 30 seconds after people have been watching, looking at your content or whatever, or maybe on exit intent, which just means like when somebody puts their pointer toward the navigation bar, then all of a sudden the pop-up comes out, and offer maybe to either join the email for like a coupon or a special, or offer test rides, and any of those pop-ups are going to be enormous, as well as a chat, for being able to get more out of your website and the traffic you're already currently getting. Were you gonna share something, McKay?
Yeah, I think this is kind of the slide you were mentioning a moment ago, Joe, which is, you just do this one little thing and add this text us widget, you will suddenly start to see a massive amount of uptick in terms of leads. Like, these are the same slides I shared at the start, but I cannot stress them enough. You do that, suddenly you're able to text your customer in real time on their cell phone. So they put in their phone number, suddenly you're texting them. And it's even, I would argue, more effective than like a traditional web chat tool, because it allows you to actually text. They don't need to stay on your website. They're just on your phone. So this is why I think the leads go crazy. And again, the point I'll stress is this is not like, we didn't pick the best one. We just literally like went to our customer success team and said, hey, can you send us one of these crazy things where we add the widget? And they're like, sure. We actually had a funny story last week where we were actually onboarding a customer in the power sports industry, and our customer success team is like, okay, at the start of the call, we're going to install this web widget to your website. And about 30 minutes in, they started to get so many inbound texts from leads that the owner of the dealership on the call was like, okay, one of us has to get off this call to go respond to these, which was like the best onboarding call our team's ever had. So that's awesome. But no, it's super effective. And I think what you're mentioning here about pop-ups, doing two of those three things is vital, Joe.
Yeah, and it just, I know we're kind of running low on time, so I'm going to jump to the last bullet, which is, guys, do anything you can to close a conversion gap. So remember, most of you already probably have either some organic or a lot of organic traffic coming to your site, or maybe you're having paid traffic, whatever the case may be. But try to think to yourself, like, okay, how do I close that conversion gap of the people that are hitting my website but are just leaving unconverted? The chat is one of the biggest ones. Second next best thing is probably going to be put a pop-up on exit intent to offer a test ride or whatever the case may be. But try to always think in terms of closing that conversion gap. All right, so post service, right? That's number 4 in the proven formula, and for your revenue generating machine for your dealership. So reviews. I know you guys probably gotten maybe beat over the head a lot, with reviews, but they matter. They're super, super critically important. I mean, look at these numbers. 91% of consumers trust online reviews as much as personal recommendations. And the 2% of users will use a local business if it has at least a 4-star rating, and 89% of consumers read a business's responses to reviews. That tells you, please never go tit for tat with like somebody who's leaving you a negative comment. I know it's frustrating. It's very tempting, but unfortunately, psychologically, what a lot of potential customers will do is they'll see how you mitigated a negative, situation, how you handled it, and so having gone tit for tat for the people that did their research and saw you answer negatively, it'll just kick you out of the game. So, that's an important one to keep in mind.
It's huge. And to get reviews, and this is something we want to hit on before we close, is how do you get reviews? You can send them an email that says, hey, leave us a review. You can talk to them as they walk out the door. Hey, leave us a review. Those are going to produce about a 1% review rate. That's a real number. So you do that, you're going to get about 1% of those people who leave you a review. If you follow this process that I'll show you in the next 4 slides, you're going to get a 35% review rate, which is not 100%, but is better than 1%. So first thing you do, you send them a text message. Congrats on your purchase, whatever you want to write there. You can automate this again. This can be all automated. Click on the link below to leave a review. Boom. Google and Facebook popped up. 85% of people are logged into Google and Facebook all the time on their mobile device. So they click on one, they come to this screen, they're able to leave a review immediately. You do that, see that green bar right there, you're getting a 35% review rate. When if you do it via email or just, hey, leave us a review as they leave and walk out with keys in hand, you're going to get a 1% review rate. So it's really critical, and it's an easy way to do it.
That's huge. And one thing that I want to share, you know, if you could just go back to the last slide real quick, Mikhail, I just want to share something with them. You know, being a marketing agency that, you know, that we are, that focuses on not just paid, but also SEO, so search engine optimization. I can tell you firsthand that the aspect of the reviews and why they're so important is not only for the psychological aspect of the people that are doing their research, but also because you don't think that Google, who owns Google My Business, is going to take into account in their ranking of your dealership whether you have a good rating or a poor rating? Of course they are. They're going to take into account, because Google is all about giving the user a really good user experience. So if they suspect that you give a poor customer experience because of reviews that people have left for your dealership, they're not going to drive as much traffic to you guys. So reviews are a critical component, and having also positive reviews and responding to them, right? A critical component of search engine optimization and being able to rank properly for for search engines. So there are, those four, different stages that we mentioned to you guys: the attract, lead, schedule, and post service, which are going to really create a revenue generating machine for your dealership. Use it. This is a proven dealer revenue accelerator system, and that's going to get you results. So let's quickly recap through some of the things that we talked about today. So make your website convert optimally as much as you can. Close the gap on conversions, okay? Always think about that. Go where your customers are. So think about where the masses are, okay? Google, Facebook, and Instagram. Think organically, but also think paid. Run paid ads wherever it's relevant. Now, optimize your website for search engines. This is a critical one. So also with this, it's gonna go optimizing your website for voice search, but that's gonna be a whole another topic for a whole another webinar. Use review software such as Connect, to request reviews from customers. Really, really big, and it's gonna tie into the last slide, which was search engine optimization, right? This is really critical. Utilize clear and concise, a clear and concise way of tracking your leads, your response time, and the spending that you're doing on your ads, okay? That's very critical. So you know where you are, where you stand, and also how you measure and where you want to go. And if you guys have any questions, by any means, hit me up on the email. It's super easy, joe@gobeyondcreative.com, the email on your screen. Feel free to screenshot this or take a picture of it. Or you could visit gobeyondcreative.com/schedule, and my calendar will come up there, and I'll be more than happy to, do a one-to-one with you guys.
And I'll tell you, Joe, that is a GQ-like picture right there. Like,
really? Thank you. I appreciate that.
My God. Very good. No, you know what? I'm thrilled, because as Joe and I went through the presentation, we were like, man, there's so much good stuff here, but we want to make sure we can get through it, and I think we succeeded. So that's awesome.
Hopefully we didn't lose too many people, because I know
and everybody stayed on. So that's a good sign. So we've got about 5 minutes to take a couple questions. So if you have questions for Joe or myself, type those into the question bar, and we'll address those to Joe specifically. So here's one that's coming in, Joe. So as you work with folks specifically in power sports and also the adjacent industries like RV and marine, of course, similar business models, what is your, the number one thing that when they start working with you, you're like, oh man, that we have to fix that immediately? Is it their website itself? Is it their online presence generally? Is it lead response? What is the one thing that you see dealers falling down on the most or struggling with when they start to work with you?
Yeah, so typically, that's a really good question. The first two top ones that come to mind are conversion aspects of their website. So some dealers do a good job, but the vast majority, I would probably say 60 to 70%, when we come in, we've got to mitigate some sort of issue where their website isn't converting optimally. So one of the first things we'll do is we'll suggest pretty much, everything that we included in these, in this webinar, we'll suggest or we'll help implement for them, and we'll have our team, come in. It's going to depend also on how much access we have to the website and all of that, all of those nuances. But long story short, it's just typically a conversion related thing, because remember, guys, 9 times out of 10, everything you drive online is going to end up going to your site. Even if, with the exception of like maybe your Facebook page and the interaction, that's kind of very self-contained within it. At the end of the day, when people want to find out more, they still got to go to your website, to take certain actions, to look at your inventory, etc. So a lot of the vast majority of the things happen on your website level, and a lot of people overlook that. And so that's one of the main things. The second number 2 thing is, I would say probably virtually 99.9% of our dealers, with the exception of like one I can think of off the top of my head, do not have any kind of automation or any kind of system in place to do some of the things that we illustrated here in this webinar. And so that's like step 2, that we come in and we implement automation for them. Within that, almost like married to it, is lead response. So one of the things that we just kind of offer now is we don't even charge anything else for this, it's just part of our service, is to help when a lead has now raised her hand, because we implemented an automation sequence, and the lead raised her hand and they said, yeah, I'm interested. I want an appointment, or I don't know if I qualify, but I need credit, blah, 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 whatever the case may be. We had realized that like now all of a sudden they had gotten a text back, and then the dealer was sleeping on that text for like 24 to 48 hours or more. And sometimes they just weren't even calling or anything. And I was like, oh no, this can't be. We're driving traffic, we're doing all this, and then it's just, it's like squandering the lead. So what we actually started implementing is like somebody dedicated on our staff to just constantly making sure those conversations stay warm. So like if, for instance, our dealership was using Connect, then our rep would go onto their Connect and just make sure that, during
They
business
were responding
hours,
and
they were,
yeah.
exactly. Because one thing that I think dealers tend to forget is they're looking at this very transactional wise. They're looking at this like, they want A and they get, and then I got B and then they get C, or, they're looking at it just very much of like an equation. But you got to think about text in the context of a human, kind of
it's a human interaction. Yeah,
absolutely. The same way that you would text with a buddy, you know what I mean? Like your buddy's kind of gonna be turned off if you answer to him 48 hours later.
Right. And it's funny with texting too, because people do expect, like, I don't know about you guys, but I will get a text message or I will send a text message to somebody, and if they don't respond within like 6 minutes, I'm like, what the heck's wrong with that person? Like, so it is interesting how people just demand urgency, which is why I think texting's become so popular. We did get one question I want to hit before we go here, just about how the texting works. So essentially your business number, your principal number, or whatever numbers you want, can be turned into textable lines. So you keep those, they can of course still take phone calls and whatnot, but they do become textable. So people can text your actual business phone number, and when you respond, it comes from your number, as opposed to your sales rep's cell phone numbers.
I love that aspect of it too. Because
exactly. And all those texts come into that inbox thing I showed you. So anyway, good questions, everybody. Joe, thanks for taking the time, man. We really appreciate it. That was awesome.
My absolute pleasure. And thanks to everybody who attended today. Really excited to be able to share our knowledge, with the power sports, marine, and RV industry.
Yeah, absolutely. So thanks for jumping on, everybody. We know you're busy time of year too. So thanks for taking a few minutes with us. Thanks for being engaged and asking questions, and have a wonderful week and a wonderful weekend. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, everybody. Thank you.